Let's talk about suspensions, specifically the rough country 2.5-inch lift for the Jeep TJ. This video is not intended to bash rough country or promote rough country or bash anyone else. It is strictly my opinion on this lift kit and my experience with this lift kit. So take that all with a grain of salt. Your mileage may vary. So as of right now, you can get this lift kit for $220 from Rough Country's website. It goes up in price a little more for different year models, so if you're a JK, it's going to be a little more expensive. I think it's mid 300s. For the TJs right now, it's $220 on their website. So some of the pros of this suspension system is, number one, its price. It's very, very affordable. If you're on a tight budget and you want to fit some larger tires or get a little extra ground clearance, then this kit could be really good for you. For the money, I'd say it's fantastic. It's a great suspension kit for the money. That's where the caveats come in. As far as cons, the shocks are stiff. On road, it's not such a bad thing. If you hit a pothole, yeah, it's gonna jar you a little bit. If you hit a speed bump, yeah, it's gonna jar you a little bit. But really, ride comfort on the road, I'd say, is marginal. It's not bad. It's not terrible, but it is stiff. When going around corners, that's a great thing. You know, it feels balanced and centered, and it doesn't feel like it's going to topple over. If you take a corner just a little too fast, you don't feel like you're going to flip your Jeep over, which is great peace of mind. Right now we're going down a gravel driveway, and I mean it's not ridiculously rough. It's a normal gravel driveway. It's relatively smooth surface, and I'm not getting beat around too much. Now we're kind of out on a main road. It's a pretty smooth road, not too many potholes or anything. A little bump right there, a little bump right here. And the suspension's soaking it up pretty well. I mean, you can tell that the shocks are stiff, but they're not so stiff that it's uncomfortable. I'm not getting any hurt feelings in my spine or my lower back or anything. On road, it's pretty comfortable. However, when off-road, depending on the surface, a very stiff shock is not a very good thing. There's certain areas, maybe creek beds or dried out lakes, where there's lots of small rocks, not gravel, but small rocks in the trail, and it will jar you. It'll rattle your teeth out. Taking your sway bars loose and airing down the tires all helps with that, but the stiff ride is definitely most noticeable then. The suspension's been on here about 3 years. So let's take a look at how it's settled in over that time. We should be able to measure pretty easily if this suspension has sagged or done anything drastic. I won't be able to tell you how much of a lift it's still sitting at, but I can tell you if it's sitting evenly on all corners. So what I'm going to do here is measure in a couple places. From the tire to the fender flare, that's looking, say, 6 1/4. Passenger side front, we're looking at right about the same, right about 6 1/4. Now let's check from the ground to this corner right here of the rock slider. That's sitting at 21 inches, almost dead on. If we check the driver's side, that's sitting right about 21 inches, maybe a hair higher, just a hair. Now let's check the back. Let's check the same spot in the back. That's sitting at 21 3/4, so it's sitting just a little bit higher. And from the tire, it's looking like from the tire that's looking like 7 1/4. Passenger side, it looks like just under 7. So it's 7 1/4 on the other side, just under 7 here. From the ground to the tub, it looks like 21 3/4, just like the other side. So as far as settling and ride height is concerned, I'd say it's sitting very well. It doesn't seem to have sat unevenly on any side. Maybe a 1/4 of an inch here or there, but it's all pretty much even. My measurements aren't an exact science either, so I'm gonna chalk that up as a win and say that ride height is pretty good. These are the Rough Country, sorry if you can't read that because it's covered in mud, but it says Rough Country Performance 22 shock. And the spring that comes with it right there, also covered in mud. As far as looks, other than the fact they're covered in mud, they're both held up really well. I was under there the other day before all this mud got thrown on there, and there didn't seem to be any rust or anything on the shock or on the spring. So that's holding up pretty well, I'd say. Would I recommend this lift? Well, that depends on who you are. If you're just looking to get some extra ride height and fit some bigger tires, and you're not planning on taking your vehicle off-road much, then absolutely, I'd recommend this lift. I think it rides fine on road. I've heard other people complain, but I don't have any complaints with its on-road performance. It seems to have settled well over the past 3 years, and it's super affordable. This is a super affordable lift. I'm not going to call this a bad lift because I don't think it's a bad lift. I think it's a very good lift for the price and depending on what you're going to do with it. If you're planning on doing a lot of off-roading, it depends on the surface, but it can be a really bumpy ride. For my purposes, I'll probably be moving to a different lift. I also want to go taller, so now's the time to really upgrade if I'm going to do it. But if I was going to stay at this height, I might replace the shocks and keep going with these springs and be just fine depending on where I was going. If I'd recommend it or not depends on who you are. If you have any different thoughts on this lift or what lift I should get in the future, please leave it in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to see more off-road reviews, installs, DIYs, click that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and like the video. We'll see you next time.